Hello there everybody, it is me XFreezerBunny and welcome back to another Sims 4 speed building video. Today we're going to try to recreate the Peles Castle, and I know this build looks really magical and looks really fantasy, but I think the best part about it is that the Peles Castle is actually based on a real life building, okay? So this is another really long and ambitious build, and this build, I'm going to give you guys a little bit of a heads up. It's probably the build where I broke literally all of my personal records when it comes to being a builder in The Sims 4. This is the largest build that I ever did. This is also the longest build that I've ever done as well, and a lot more stuff, okay? So anyway, I'm so glad to finally be back with another speed build for you guys. Just to give you guys a little bit of a heads up, there's going to be a total of 5 videos for the speed build. I know, right? How crazy is that? 4 videos are going to be speed builds itself, and then there's an extra 5th video for the house tour, okay? So watch out for those. I'm gonna try to upload everything within the week so you guys don't have to wait too long. And yes, I've already finished this. It took me about 3 weeks to complete. When I finished my previous build, which is the Coconut Lagoon, I immediately started on this one, and actually this is the second attempt that I had trying to build the Peles Castle, because the first time I did it, I was about 50 minutes into my recording and I just did not really like what I was doing. The floor plan of it is really complicated, and the first time I did it, I really didn't like how things were going. It was all over the place. So the second time I did it, which is the time that you guys see me do right now, I became more specific with the floor plans. That's why you guys can see me really take my time to really replicate the floor plan of this castle in real life, okay? So yeah, like I said, this is another build based on a real life building, and the Peles Castle is actually located in the mountains of Romania. I know, right? How exotic is that? It was built by one of the kings of Romania called King Carol I, and generally the style of this can be considered as a German Romanticism. To be specific though, it's an eclectic style, and I think that this castle really epitomizes everything that's Victorian about architecture that happened in the 19th century. I'm going to be talking more about the technical stuff later on. I'm going to try to make it sound less like an actual lecture and more like just friends sharing information with each other. But yeah, like I said earlier in this video, this build really broke records for me as a personal builder. Not only is this my largest build, it's also my longest speed build. It took me about 14 hours or even more to create this quote-unquote masterpiece. I'd like to think of this as my masterpiece, actually. And you know what? I'd like to think of this as kind of the haute couture of builds, because much like haute couture, this was a huge time investment, and you know, you also have to have a lot of dedication, pretty much like haute couture fashion, making things absolutely perfect and just putting a lot of time and putting a lot of personal effort into just detailing it and you know, making it awesome, I guess. So anyway, like I said, this is my biggest build. I'm gonna go ahead and talk about the records that this broke for me as a builder. So like I said, like 10 times already, this is my biggest build, and this palace or this castle has a total of 42 rooms on the first floor, okay? Get ready, you guys, okay? We also have 44 rooms on the second floor, okay? And we have 12 rooms on the third floor and 1 room on the 4th floor, making it a total of 97 rooms. All those 97 rooms are fully furnished, decked out, lavishly decorated. Of course, you guys know me. It's insane. When I was building this, I didn't realize how many rooms I had to decorate, and it was just crazy. I just counted the rooms. about 5 minutes ago, and I'm just still in shock about how many rooms I was able to furnish and decorate. Like, it's crazy. Once you guys see the way I furnished all the rooms, you would understand why this build took me forever to finish. Okay, so other than the fact that this is my largest build, this is also my longest speed build. I was very self-conscious about making really, really long speed builds, and I keep talking about this in my recent speed builds, how I used to be really scared of uploading really, really long videos, but you guys just gave me so much encouragement and so much support that I don't really feel apologetic about it anymore, and you guys told me that I shouldn't be. So thank you so much for supporting me in everything that I do. You guys know who you are. Because honestly, if I could give you guys a build that was like 5 minutes, I would probably do it. But just the things that I decide to do are just really time consuming, and I just cannot be satisfied by doing mediocre builds anymore. I really push the envelope for what I can do myself. So it means a lot to me reading your guys' messages about how not to worry if my builds are too long. And also extra thank you for you guys who watch the entire builds. I know it's a lot of investment when it comes to the time. Huge time investment for both you guys and me. But to you guys who watch this build and support my videos from start to finish, it really, really means a lot. Okay, so just thank you. Okay, anyway, this is also, I've mentioned 2 personal records that we've beaten, but there's another one, and this is also my most expensive build ever. I've built many homes that cost over $1 million simoleons, but this one is the most expensive one. It costs almost 1,600,000 simoleons, which is a crazy amount. I play The Sims 4, of course, for myself, just the gameplay of it, and I know how difficult it is to earn 100,000 simoleons, but this thing costs 1,600,000 simoleons. What an insane number, right? Like, really crazy. So this is my most expensive build as well, so yeah, take that. Anyway, so yeah, right now we are working on, you guys just saw me place in the glass flooring, or the dance floor that came with the Sims 4 Get Together, and that is actually a 3-story room. It's an atrium, and I think it's one of the most beautiful rooms that I've ever made. Like, how, yeah, I really am trying to be super humble, but at the same time, I'm selling this build to you guys because I spent a lot of time on it, and I'm really proud of it, and I don't think that it's wrong necessarily to be proud of your work. So if I sound really obnoxious, just please know how proud I am of this, and that pride is just beaming out of me, okay? Also, I'm gonna go ahead and talk about some of my personal life, I guess, because a lot of things have happened over the past couple of weeks where I haven't been uploading a speed build. Okay, so if you guys follow me on Twitter, you guys would know that I've been on job applications recently. I've been trying to look for a place for my apprenticeship, and last week I went to this job interview and I got the part, or I got the job. It's not necessarily a job, it's more of an apprenticeship for architecture. It's one of those requirements that you really have to do to graduate, and I was able to get it. No problem. I didn't even have to do an interview. I was just, I gave them my resume and I waited for like 20 minutes, and then the girl or the secretary told me, okay, you're hired, come back on Monday. And I just got back actually from the orientation. And I'm not actually really happy with my assignment. I'm not really sure. I don't want to sound too picky about it, but I really am not happy with what they gave me as my first assignment. So right now I'm trying to look for maybe some job alternatives or whatever. I'm not sure. This is getting too personal. But yeah, I'm just really not satisfied. I'm also telling you guys this because if I sound all over the place, or if my commentary is like really inconsistent, then please know that it's like 10 p.m. I just got back from a whole day's worth of work. and I'm really, really tired. But you know what? I really want to get this up as soon as I can for you guys. So that's why I'm really pushing myself to do this recording, and I cannot wait. It feels like it's been forever since I last recorded anything. So I'm so glad to finally be doing things for myself. Like, yes, of course. We have to make time for ourselves, right? Anyway, the roofing of it is also pretty elaborate as well. You guys can see we have these, I'm not really sure what these are called. I just call these barn roofs, which is like, similar to how barns roofs look like, I guess. But yeah, it's really, really elaborate. It also takes a lot more time than just the normal hip or gable roof because you have to think about the room inside the roof and things like that. Like, it's crazy. Also, this castle can be divided into two parts. There is the main building, and then there is the servant's wing, and it's connected by a bunch of like bridges or whatever. Of course, let me just make it clear to you guys that I did not set out to try to recreate the Peles Castle 100%. I just wanted to make it look as close as I can. But of course, this is The Sims, and with every Sims games comes limitations. Yes, my favorite bit. But yeah, it's impossible to recreate something in real life, and it's impossible to be 100% accurate. But I think I did a really good job of capturing the essence of the Peles Castle. Also, the Peles Castle, I believe, is like 6 stories tall. So I literally had to compress the floor plans and just choose the really, really important bits to include. Like, for example, in this build, it's gonna get really confusing, so you guys better be prepared, okay? The Peles Castle, the main floor of it is located on the 2nd floor, okay? But since we only get 4 floors in The Sims, the 2nd floor, which is the main floor of Peles Castle, is actually on the 1st floor of this house, on the ground floor. It's really, really confusing, but basically the ground floor of the Sims version of Peles Castle is the main floor, and then the 3rd floor is the 2nd floor in the Peles Castle. You guys get it. It's basically, I didn't include the ground floor of Peles Castle because there was literally nothing in it. It had a basement and it had like a lobby on the ground floor, but nothing too crazy. Thankfully though, I was able to find a floor plan for this online. There's some really, really dedicated people out there who really love these kind of builds or really like these kinds of buildings in real life. And I'm really amazed to see so much dedication from the people, because people like go to these buildings and they just, inspect and examine each room and they make floor plans for it. How awesome is that? So yeah, I might actually post the floor plans of this in my Facebook page. Please comment down below if you guys want to see the floor plans on my Facebook. I don't really necessarily find a place for them, for the floor plans in these videos, because, I don't know which video should I put them first, the first one or the last one or whatever. I don't know. So usually I want to upload the floor plans separately on my Facebook page, or maybe I can share it on Twitter. Just tell me your guys' preference and I will try to do it, okay? If you guys are interested in the floor plan, okay? So finally, we have been working on this for a really, really long time. Each speed build actually lasts about 3 hours or 3.5 hours per video. So since there's 4 videos, it's 14 to 16 hours of work for me, which is insane, right? But I don't know, I just couldn't stop myself from making this. I just really wanted to do it for myself, and of course I'm thinking about you guys as well. I'm just trying to make it the way I want it to, and hopefully you guys can learn something from me as well. Maybe you have a story in mind taking place in a fantasy kingdom or whatever, and I don't know, maybe you're from Romania and maybe you're super, super happy to see somebody recreate the Peles Castle. So yeah, please tell me if you're from Romania. That would be so awesome, okay? Anyway, so I think my favorite part about the Peles Castle is that the people who built it come from so many different ethnicities, which is amazing, right? We all know that Eastern Europe has had a really, really rough history over the past couple of decades. But when this castle was being built in the 1800s, there were about 14 different races and ethnicities working on it. You know, there were the English, French, Italians, Germans, Romanians, Turkish. And I think that, you know, coming together to work on this just shows that if we all work together, we can really create something magnificent. I know that sounds really, really cliche, but one thing that I really learned while researching this was the fact that there were like 14 different languages spoken on the building site, and it took them like a couple of decades to finish this, but the end result for me is just so beautiful, and you know, I think that that's something to be proud of, you know. Cultural diversity, you guys. Anyway, so like I said earlier, the predominant architectural style of this, according to what I read online, is German Romanticism. When I actually saw the Peles Castle for the first time, I realized that it looked very German, but I made the assumption that since this is located in Romania, I thought that German and Romanian architecture just looked really similar, and it does in a way, but then I learned that King Carol I, the person who ordered the construction of this, actually hired a German architect to do this. So then it dawned on me that, okay, the architect is German. That's probably why he chose to have this German style. And I think it's really, really beautiful because it's not necessarily entirely German. Like I said, we also have some elements of the Renaissance, and we also have some Italianate as well. And you guys can actually see that in the front, on the ground level, we can see some Italian bits and pieces of it, like the frieze, for example, or the stucco finish, and also the columns as well, which is a very Italian feature, or like a really Italian or Greek feature. So yeah, yes, it took me a really, really long time. I just really tried to allow myself to take my time with it. You know, I just really was lenient with myself, and I didn't really pressure myself that much to do this speed builds as fast as I can, because if I work around a time constraint, then I feel like it wouldn't be as amazing. You guys get what I mean? Like, if I told myself that, okay, you need to finish this build in like 5 hours, okay. If I did that, I would feel like it would limit me too much, and I wouldn't be as ambitious. So I just let myself take my time, and, you know, I think that a lot of you guys keep commenting on my videos that, oh, you know, you're so good, how do you make these? Like, I always get that comment, like, how do you make these? And for me, by doing this build is when I realized that you just really have to take your time with this build, you know? A build that you did for an hour isn't gonna look as good as a build that you've been working on for 10 hours, if you guys get what I mean. Of course, each and every one of us has our own way and has our own style of building. And for me, the best build is a build that you really do for yourself. So, you know, just choose a subject that, you know, you really want. If it's modern architecture, if it's historical, if it's a themed, and just practice and just spend the time. Don't be afraid to experiment and spend time with your builds. And also, another thing is that don't be afraid to change things once you've already built it. I am a YouTuber, of course. I've been doing YouTube videos for 3 years now, and I also watch other YouTubers as well, which is weird because I know that many YouTubers no longer watch other YouTubers, but I personally watch other builders as well on YouTube and see their techniques and stuff, and sometimes I might get influenced by their work. But one thing that I noticed is that when people build something, they tend to not really change it, even though they're not satisfied with it. I don't want to name people specifically, and this is not shade whatsoever, you know, but for me, if you're not satisfied with how you built something, don't be afraid to change it. You know, don't be afraid to take the extra hour to, you know, delete all the stuff and just change how you did it. Because for me, it's really just an experimentation and just really testing things out and trying things out. Sometimes it never works out the first time you do it, but if you change it and you know, it will be for the better for sure. Because as I mentioned when I first started the commentary for this build, I first did a really half-assed floor plan for this, and I just really wasn't satisfied. And it was already like 50 minutes into my recording, and then I was like, okay, I'm gonna have to scrap this because I'm just really not satisfied with it. So yeah, I think that's also why it takes me forever to finish a build, because I just never become satisfied and I just keep replacing everything. I should really take you know, a lesson from other YouTubers just to not keep changing my mind. I don't know. I'm just really impulsive like that. And sometimes I regret some of my decisions and I just go ahead and change them. Anyway, so you guys might notice that there are a bunch of towers in this build, and I'm not sure how many there are, but there are a lot, okay? And of course, the centerpiece of the facade is this really tall 4-story tower, and towers are actually a characteristic of Victorian architecture. I've mentioned this in my other builds before, but the architectural styles that preceded Victorian era was generally very flat. Flat roofs were the preferred look, and also just the silhouette of it tended to be very simple, and the roofline of it was very straightforward, if you guys get what I mean. Yeah, it had a very direct and really straightforward roofline. Well, the Victorians had a concept called the picturesque. And picturesque is a really general term that refers to doing things to artworks to make it look kind of old and kind of rusticated and all that stuff, because the Victorians really liked the medieval period, or just the past in general. They preferred the medieval period more than the classical, but generally they just really liked the past. And they did a lot of things to their buildings to make it look like it's older, you know. Some of it is adding towers to make it look more picturesque and kind of creating a more varied roofline rather than the preceding styles that had a very straight roofline, like you know, like Baroque buildings or buildings during the Georgian era tended to be really simple. And the Victorians really just added a lot of dimension and dynamic aspects to their facades. The tower is a very Victorian feature. Another feature that they added as well is rustication, or the use of coining or coins on the corners, for example, and, you know, shingles and corbels. Traditionally, like, some architectural elements like corbels, for example, would have like a structural function to them, but during the Victorian period, they were used more as decorative elements. You know, corbels generally have a weight carrying capacity to them, but in Victorian architecture, they're just decorative. So, yeah, that's probably a little bit too technical for you guys, but I just learned this actually. A couple of months ago, I attended a seminar on Philippine architecture, on my country, of course, my country's architecture, and the topic about it was conservation of architecture in my country that was built during the Victorian period. And of course, you know, I'm just trying to share what I learned from that seminar that I attended. It was really fun. And you guys know how much I love history of architecture. So I was literally like super happy participating in discussions and meeting some of the leading, you know, conservationists people in my country. It was amazing. Anyway, it looks like we are about to work on the interior. How awesome is that? Yeah, the first room that we're going to be working on is this atrium, actually. And this atrium is really gonna set the tone for the rest of the house. It's really, really elaborate. It's 3 levels tall. It has a glass ceiling or roof. It has a glass ceiling. It has split levels. It's crazy. And it also has a really, really elaborate chandelier as well. The combination of this atrium area and the staircase is just... Honestly, I might sound really cocky, but this is probably one of the most beautiful rooms that I've ever created, if I do say so myself. And once again, I'm super, super proud of how it turned out. One thing that really stood out to me when I was looking at the Peles Castle is the fact that it had the most beautiful woodwork ever. If you guys Google the Peles Castle, it has the most beautiful wood carvings and woodwork in the interior, and I really, really wanted to recreate that, so I used a lot of wood, and also, I was able to do some I was able to do some really, really cool work with some of these archways, actually. By enlarging an archway, I was able to make a really, really cool effect, and I will also be adding some columns on those archways as well. Of course, it's very different from the Peles Castle interior in real life, but it's also, I feel like it captures the essence of it, and I'm really, really happy with how it looked like. Literally, I think this is like one of the most beautiful rooms that I've ever created. So yeah, I believe this room is called the gallery something. I'm not sure. I did try to recreate some of the rooms in the castle itself. I just don't recall what this one was specifically. I think it's like some great hall or great gallery or something like that. I forgot. Whatever. You guys get what I mean. It's like the one with the glass ceiling and the really, really elaborate woodwork and whatever. Really, really awesome. What took me a lot of time was actually the chandelier, because I couldn't figure out how to put lighting into this that made it look really bright on the inside. Because of course we all know that in The Sims 4, the interior lighting needs a lot of work. I feel like they've already fixed it already, but for me, the interiors seem really dim still. I don't know why. I feel like it's probably just me, but whatever. I also really like the fact that this room has some green wallpaper as well, which I also tried to recreate how it looks like in real life. So yeah, there we go with the decorative corbels. Yeah, the decorative corbel thing, I learned it from that one lecture that I went to. So you know what? Attending lectures is really, really educational, you guys. Sometimes your school organizes it, sometimes other people organize it. So, if you see some posters or whatever, take the chance and attend it. You might learn something, and you might actually learn to love and become passionate about something. So, another thing that I did differently from the Peles Castle in real life is I actually made the dining room 2 stories tall, okay? In real life, the dining room in Peles Castle is only about 1 level. The upper part of the dining room in Peles Castle in real life is actually bedrooms, but I feel like we already have so many bedrooms that, we don't need to have the space be bedrooms. So I just made it into really, really grand over the top dining room. It's 2 levels tall, beautiful, huge chandeliers, and dining rooms are actually very, very formal spaces. Sometimes great receptions happen in dining rooms, and of course we have the banquets and things like that. So I really made an effort to make it worthy of becoming a royal dining room, because the Peles Castle is the most famous royal residence in Romania, and they would normally accept, maybe guests, foreign dignitaries, foreign royals or whatever, and this is a perfect place to entertain them. I also realized that there was a curtain glitch or something. I don't think I've ever brought this up in other videos before, but I noticed that we have some glitchy curtains or whatever. So when the lighting on the outside changes, the curtains kind of have a weird lighting on them. So that's pretty weird. But yeah, isn't this like crazy extravagant, you guys? Like really, really crazy, right? But yeah, most of the flower arrangements that we have in this house are actually combined flower arrangements, combining two or more, because sometimes I use two of them, sometimes there's three of them. Of course, 3 different flowers, and also that's another reason why it took me a really, really long time to finish this, probably because I just spent so much time creating and combining all these different items and things, and making them look unique, you know. I also put some plates on top of the archways over there, you guys can see it, which is a nice little nod to the fact that this room is, of course, the formal dining room, and I thought that was a nice little touch, having the archways on the, you know, having the archways lined by some nice little plates and stuff. So right now we're working on the chandelier, and I actually spent a really, really long time with this. But you guys can see me kind of experiment with the chandeliers because, like I said, the interior lighting was really, really tough, actually. I really didn't know how to properly light everything. I noticed that the chandeliers actually get lit on the level that they are, like where even if you raise them up, the lighting follows, which is awesome. But yeah, you guys can see it's really, really tough getting all the proportions right, making it look legit, you know, and not like just a random bunch of chandeliers placed together. Hashtag shade. But yeah, I think in the end it looks really good. I throw in some floor lights as well and some lamps on the ground level of that split level area, so you know we don't necessarily have a really, really dim interior. And this gives you guys a little bit of an idea as to how elaborate the interiors are, because they are so freaking elaborate. Like, I feel like it's gonna be so difficult to play in this castle because just the interiors are so elaborate. There's like a ton of items that are, you know, getting in the way of the gameplay itself. So I don't know, I just really wanted it to look good, and you know that you have to make some sacrifices, I guess. But you guys can see me spend a really, really long time on the chandelier, maybe 30 minutes just to figure out like the height of the chandelier, because of course I'm OCD like that, and you know, everything has to be even and everything has just really, really crazy. And right now we are working on the main foyer, or the vestibule of the house. And this is a great example of what I was talking about earlier. If you're not satisfied with something, change it, because you guys will see me actually change this a little bit later on. Initially I went with some dark chocolate brown coloration for the walls. But I really didn't like it for some reason. I felt like I just really didn't like it. So I will change that later on, a little bit later on. And right now we're working on probably one of my favorite rooms as well. I really, really like the atrium, and this is another room that I really like because it's just so different from the rest of the rooms. The Peles Castle has a bunch of themed rooms. There's the Florentine room, which is one that we're working on right now. There's also the Turkish room and the Moorish room, and all of those are replicated in this build. And I believe that towards the end of this build, we're going to be working on the Turkish room, I believe. So right now we're working on the Florentine room, and I tried my best to recreate how it actually looks in real life. You guys will actually see me add some nods to some Italian architecture actually in this room. And if you guys know your architecture, you would know the hints that I gave you guys. The columns, those dark wood columns, are the Etruscan style, or the Etruscan Etruscan order. And there are generally 5 classical orders of columns: Doric, Ionic, and Corinthian. Those 3 are Greek, and then we have the 2 Roman extensions of them, the Etruscan and the Composite. So I'm getting really, really technical, but yeah, Etruscan columns, very, very Roman. if you know your architecture, you would recognize that, and I made that as like a little bit of a nod to this room because Florence is located in Italy, and this is supposed to be like a Renaissance themed room. So yeah. Also, in real life, this room has those beautiful cabinets that I tried to recreate by combining them. And I think almost all of the closets in this home, later on you guys will see when we are furnishing the bedrooms, all of the closets actually look like that because I just really, really like the look of it. And right now I'm just making it look very Renaissance-ish. I noticed that during the Renaissance, there weren't any sofas or whatever. Most of the people sat in individual armchairs, and you know, that is represented here as well. I have a little bit of a hint for you guys. If you're looking at some furniture, you can tell generally by the legs of the tables and the chairs what era they are. Georgian era furniture usually has really slender legs. Anything before that usually has really bulky legs, and it has like the beams that connect the legs together. And if you guys look at the chairs that I used in the Florentine room, they have these beams that connect the legs of them. So I felt like that was a really appropriate type of chair to use for the Renaissance themed Florentine room. Okay, and right now we're working on the last room in this house, and it is going to be the Turkish room. This is actually located on a different location, but yeah, I just placed it here, and it leads to the Moorish room, or the Moroccan themed room. The Turkish room actually has a really, really beautiful centerpiece. Looks like I tried to recreate the Islamic star by combining some of the lamps that came with, I'm not really sure, maybe some of the lamps that came with one of the stuff packs for the game, and I think that looks really awesome. I love how it looks. You guys will see me do it in just a little bit, and it looks really different as well. When I think of Turkey, I think of damask and red, rugs and things, so I tried to represent that. Of course, it's not 100% accurate in real life, but I feel like it's a good representation of the Turkish look and the Turkish theme of a harem or whatever. Those are the things that I have in mind while doing this. And I think we're gonna work on there we go. We're gonna try to recreate a Moorish looking star, and on top of that we have like this lighting fixture that I used to combine some different floor lights, and they look really, really beautiful. And of course, to finish things up, I threw in some ottomans because of course this is Turkey, and Turkey used to be the Ottoman Empire. But anyway, looks like that is going to be it for this build. Hopefully I didn't overwhelm you guys with all the information that I was talking about. So yeah. Anyway, watch out for part 2. It will be up really, really soon. Thank you guys so much for watching. Once again, please don't forget to hit that like, favorite, and subscribe button if you guys had fun watching this video, because it really helps out the channel a lot, okay? You all have an awesome, awesome, awesome day. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys next time. Bye bye.